So, hey, good morning, everybody. It is an absolutely scorching hot day here in Western Canada. And the reason I'm giving you the weather in Western Canada is because Wednesday is our Western Focus Day. We call it Western Wednesdays here on Rebel Roundup, and we host a Buffalo panel. Buffalo, for those of you who don't know, is the proposed name for the province of Alberta and Saskatchewan. We were fraternal twins, unceremoniously separated at birth. We don't like it, and we want to come back together. And so if you want to get involved in the show, let me tell you who I am first. My name is Sheila Gunn Reid. I am the regular host of the show here at Rebel News, although I have some substitutions sometimes when the world takes me out of my home studio. And I am joined, as always, by my Wednesday co-host, my very best friend in the world from Regina, Saskatchewan, Lise, Merle. And if you would like to get involved in the show, you can do that on Rumble. Leave us a Rumble rant. Why? Because we don't take any money from the government. So we'd like to take some of yours if you were so inclined. But we give you something in return, and that is your say. So if your Rumble rant is over the $5 US cutoff, we'll read it on air. If it's less than that, we do our very, very best to get to the chats underneath that. And you know that we do. But sometimes they kick us out of the studio. So it's usually a time restriction. If you are watching us over on YouTube, same rules apply, but there's also an additional way to get involved in the show, and that is by way of a paid comment after the fact. So this is for future viewers watching the recorded version of the show. They have a paid comment called a super thanks. And we appreciate you choosing us because we know you're poorer than ever if I'm reading the state of the economy right, thanks to the 10 years of liberal oppression and vandalism on the economy. And so we know, we appreciate the fact that you choose us. I know how important it is. So on the Buffalo panel on Western Wednesdays here at Rebel News, we normally have a fourth guest, a thinker in the Western conservasphere, if you will, but I think we might have a technical difficulty, maybe a scheduling mix-up with our proposed guest, but maybe he'll jump on. That would be exciting to me. I haven't seen or spoken to him in a fair bit since we were doing our Done Getting Screwed panels. He was one of the debaters there, but that's okay because we still have Sydney Fizzard, our Calgary-based journalist, and I think he's got a great, unique perspective on these things, but because he's a refugee from Doug Ford's Ontario and the progressive hellscape of Toronto. And so he's somebody who chose the West, whereas Lise and I had the blessing of being born here. So I think Sid's got a unique perspective, given that he's lived it the other way. which
sorry for your loss, Sid.
Oh, no worries. Thank you guys so much for having me, and it's an absolute pleasure not only to be here speaking with you guys, but also to be in Alberta. It is quite the refreshing change, and as somebody from the GTA specifically, it's always a breath of fresh air when I get back to Alberta. Quite literally speaking, the air is so much nicer, and so is the politics.
I think you might have the wrong audio source, Sid. There, I think you might be using your laptop audio source instead of your mic. I'll just let you fix that. While we watch this video from Alberta Premier Danielle Smith, who says what we all know, that Ottawa is overtaxing Albertans to send money to Quebec and other Liberal voting regions. Yeah, no surprise there. I'm just happy to hear her say it and articulate it in such a way. Let's watch.
What we're talking about tonight is Ottawa over... Do you want to hear the answer? Ottawa overtaxing us. I mentioned that at the beginning of the evening, that our program costs are 70% of all tax dollars. We only collect 40%. Ottawa collects 60%, and then they use political means to transfer it. Alberta, year after year, has $20 to $25 billion that is siphoned out of our system to go to Ottawa so that it can be spent mostly in Quebec, but also in other places that vote Liberal. We have been watching this for years. $600 billion in the last 40 or 50 years that have been taken out of this province. You don't think we might be able to do a little bit more on social spending if those $20 to $25 billion stayed here? You don't think we'd be able to cut taxes a bit if those $20 to $25 billion stayed here? It is $5,000 per Albertan that every single year gets transferred out of this province for political reasons so that the Liberals can continue to spend it in places that vote Liberal. That is what is happening in the province and in the country.
Thank you.
Don't pick a fight with Danielle Smith on the numbers. I'll tell you that much right now, because she nailed every single one of them. And that is from one of those Alberta Next panels where our politicians submit themselves to the ideas, but also the criticism of Albertans, which I think is a wonderful thing to do. It keeps them sharp, by the way. Even though you have these unhinged Thomas Lukasik style, you better stay in Canada,
right,
campaigners who mob the mic there. It keeps our politicians sharp with their ideas, because when it is explained that $5,000 per person per year, that is not just taxpayers, that's your kids too, is leaving the province to go to support Liberal ideas in Liberal voting provinces who refuse to develop their natural resources and simultaneously don't want you to ship yours. Quebec, I'm looking at you. Why? Why would anybody agree to stay in the relationship the way it is?
And I was just going to say, this is the best argument for separation that both Alberta and Saskatchewan have. So just doing that math, over 50 years, that's $250,000 per person that is leaving Alberta and going straight into Ottawa pockets. Are we kidding ourselves that we would be so much better off keeping that money in our own jurisdictions? It is crazy that we are supporting the lifestyles of the rich and famous over there in Quebec with our hard work and ambition. It is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Make it stop.
You know, but I'm so glad these mob the mic buffoons. Sid, I think you're on the call twice, if I'm looking at the top there. But it is good. I'd like to see these mob the mic buffoons from the Keep the Status Quo campaign show up at these things, because it's the same reason I like watching the pro-trans political activists take on Matt Walsh and then just absolutely get axe murdered. It's good. It's nice to see. And as someone who likes to give people the facts so that they can arm themselves when they go out into the world, these are great arguments. You know, when somebody says to you, why do you want to leave? And you need to come up with a better argument than, I hate Ottawa, I hate the Liberals, the elections are decided before us. You can add an extra layer and say, also, this year in my family of 5, the Liberals took $25,000 out of it and sent it to Quebec.
Sure. Yeah. And over the growing years of your children, just think about the services that we could provide our children in the West if we weren't hemorrhaging money to the East. Just think about that for a second. In 16 years of life, that would be tens of thousands of dollars that would be advanced to education, to sport, to culture, to all of the things that make a great experience for kids. Imagine how our kids would benefit by keeping that money in our own pockets. It's actually unfathomable. We would be
like the UAE, just building ostentatious, crazy things just because we had the money. Sure, let's put a yacht at the top of that building. Like that's what we would be doing just because we had the money, because we weren't having our pockets picked by the Liberals to give to the East to make sure that the East keeps voting for the Liberals. Sid, I want to ask you this as someone who's outside, or who spent all of his life outside of Alberta before you came here. Do people in Toronto even know that this is the situation for Albertans?
There's a large level of obliviousness, I guess you could say. Also, I hope my audio is a little better there.
It's
Apologies
great
for
now.
the
Yeah, it's
setback.
better. Yeah.
But yeah, it's especially in the GTA, because that's where, I spent a lot of my upbringing. It's so focused on itself in many regards. And that's partly because it's just, there's always something to do. It's always moving, the ground's always hot, whether it's day or night. Because there's just people engaged with, the current happenings around, whether it's, the night scene, whether it's just caught up with the busyness that is such a large city. And in consequence of that, you kind of lose track of how everyone else lives. You especially lose track of how other provinces are. A great way to think about it is, how long do you think it takes to drive to Calgary? If you didn't know, you couldn't Google it, and you lived in Toronto, how long do you think it would take to drive, pardon me, out all the way to Alberta? I think many of them would suspect it might be a lot shorter than they realize. They just don't get that amount of distance, that amount of land, that amount of difference, not only in the way people are living, but the culture that surrounds them. I think that is a bit lost when you're living in the GTA.
Yeah, I
Sheila
guess
Gunn.
just the chaos of it all.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Sid, just for the record, how long does it take to drive from Toronto to Calgary?
It depends on how fast you drive, but a good couple days. Like, I'd say 2.5, you could make it.
Three. I used
But
to do the drive as a kid
yeah.
a fair bit because my mom's
you?
family is from Mount Forest, Ontario. Cousins, if you're watching. And that was like one of those drives that when we first got our learner's license, my mom was like, great, you guys are doing the flat, horrible part all the way to Winnipeg. And then I'll take her from there. But the drive is as far from Toronto to like Kenora Dryden area than it is from there all the way to Edmonton and Calgary.
Huh.
Like, it's a
That's
day and a half to get to there, and then it's a day and a half to get around.
An additional day and a half. Yeah.
Just the
Yeah,
lakes, yeah.
Holy
And
Hannah.
another thing to think about there is that and it's talked about recently with trade, the north-south corridor that we have going on compared to the east-west,
Right.
it's been there for a long time because America is so much closer than Ontario, than Ottawa, than our capital. So there are already bonds being made, north-south, as it were. Whereas if you're in the GTA, you might not even realize that.
Yeah, and you can see that in the culture.
Yes.
You can see
Yeah,
that for sure in the culture. Like,
Culture runs north-south. Yeah.
yeah, I'm more culturally compatible with anybody in Great Falls than I am with anybody in Toronto. That's for
Don't
sure.
talk to me. Why not? My not? Like the people of
Right.
Minot, North
Why
Dakota.
not? My not? Exactly.
Those are basically my. I once almost had my birthday published in the book of North Dakota state events. Oh, I was like, could we submit my birthday as an official event? They were like, sure, why not? Why not? My not?
We've got Premier Smith saying no to running for prime minister. And this again is from the Alberta Next panel, where the politicians submit themselves to ideas but also abuse. Let's watch this.
I think he was also asking me if I was going to run for prime minister,
I know,
to which I will
know.
have to say no. The joke that I make is I go to bed and sleep so well at night because I don't spend 1 minute thinking about how to win votes in Toronto or Montreal. So I just think about how to win votes here.
What about in the new country, Danielle? Like, what about in the new?
We're gonna need someone.
We're gonna need someone.
And it goes back to what we were just talking about, that there is a different culture, and Eastern, Toronto Central type conservatives is very different than the kind of conservative that you have out here. It's sort of the mushy middle, Erin O'Toole, Doug Ford, just blah. They're one tie-color choice away from being a liberal. And it's very different. And Danielle Smith is right to point that out. One thing I noticed in that, though, as the person who buys the groceries in this house, she took the orange cream soda house brand bubbly. And I like that, they're saving money on groceries. That's, I think, the Save on Foods brand of bubbly, and good for her. Good for her. That's a delicious bubble water, by the way.
Sid?
Yeah, well, I personally, I don't know why, but I've never been a true, diehard fan of the carbonated drinks. But one thing I can say as well is the water here, the water in Alberta is particularly preferred, I would say, in contrast to some of the other provinces. We like to keep it clean here.
Mhm.
And I think it's funny that, Premier Smith has, put out that she's, not running for prime minister and her cause thereof. And it makes sense, right? Because it is a totally different environment. I think a lot of people in Alberta would sure hope to see her take that on maybe in the future. But at the same time, she's doing a good job where she's at. Why would you want to mess that up?
Right. And you know who I'd like to hear say that he has no interest in running for prime minister? Doug Ford.
Oh, let's create
Yeah.
a list of people that we don't want running for. Yeah,
Right.
do you have an announcement about not running for prime minister perchance? And then the
Right.
rest of us can breathe a sigh of relief. But poor Danielle Smith, she is in a really difficult position because she is so popular. Okay, and the crazy thing is Danielle Smith doesn't even really get to decide if she leads. The people get to decide if she
Right.
leads. And so maybe she's not dreaming of the prime ministership in Ottawa, and good thing, because I wouldn't want to lose her to Ottawa. Like, she's too good for Ottawa. They don't deserve the likes of Danielle Smith in Ottawa. But I see a long and prosperous and successful career for Danielle Smith in the Western provinces.
Well,
Yeah.
if I can
And
jump
sorry,
on
go
that,
ahead.
one thing that she seems to continually do, which, good on her, of course, is she always readdresses her mandate. She says, this is what I'm here to do specifically, right? This is my objective. This is the domain in which I am allowed to operate within. And I think with a lot of other politicians, they forget where the lines are. They just start doing things because they have
Doug
that
Ford.
position, right? Yeah, they lose focus of what they're actually there to do if they think that they can sustain their position for an extended period of time.
Right.
And
Like,
I think that Smith is probably right on that track where she will be there for a while. I would suppose this is her approaching the right thing as opposed to manipulative tactics.
well, and
Well, and
like Doug Ford, he thinks that he's somehow the foreign affairs minister of this entire country. And so he likes to go out and speak on behalf of Canadians, where Premier Smith says, I'm going to advance Alberta's interests in Washington, or I'm going to Mar-a-Lago to advance Alberta's interests, that she stays in her lane. But if there's a strong, happy, powerful Alberta, the rest of the country does well. Doug Ford just won't shut up. He likes to speak on behalf of Canadians. We're like, no, thanks. Thank you very much. No more tariffs, please.
yeah, when they're off on their own little, like when a political actor, will say, goes off the rails, you know what I mean? Goes outside of their own lane, you can tell because they stop talking to the people that will give them accurate feedback.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're seeing with a lot of the so-called conservative premiers in the province, Danielle Smith notwithstanding. She does an excellent job of listening to people, getting permission from them to act, and then following through on what they tell her to do.
Right.
Like, nobody does it better than Danielle Smith. Nobody works the permission structure of the electorate like Danielle Smith works it. Like, she just out hustles the lot of them.
Yeah, it's almost like she buys into the age-old idea of the consent of the governed. Instead of doing
Almost.
something to us, she tries to do it with us. And the thing that she's
On
doing
behalf of,
with
yeah.
us is something that we've asked her to do.
Yeah.
Let's keep going because we're going to run out of time here. Carney's energy chief rebukes Trudeau over LNG policy in Europe. So this is Canadian Energy Minister Tim Hodgson, said his government is taking steps towards exporting natural gas to Europe, and he criticized former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau for not making the same effort. If only this guy had spoken up, I don't know, in the 10 years that Trudeau was in power. I hope he finds out who is advising Trudeau on these economic and energy issues for about 5 years. I hope he locates that guy and then gives him an earful for being an absolute hypocrite. He says, the new Canadian federal government has made a conscious choice to recenter energy and critical minerals in how we think about not only our domestic affairs, but Canada's place in the world. He said in a prepared text of remarks he will deliver to the German embassy in Berlin. Yeah, I hope he finds out who is in charge all those years and also who is whispering in his ear about economic issues.
Well,
Because
if we're recentering the economy and recentering our energy direction, then I think we have to have a conversation about who's going to profit and how is Brookfield going to be involved in all of this new recentering? Because we know that when the federal government does something these days, it is always to line the pockets of liberal insiders or consultants or businesses or companies like Brookfield. And in every single case that we've seen in the last several months, anything that Mark Carney does is for the benefit of the Brookfield shareholder,
everything.
not the benefit of Canada. And so I get real nervous when I hear heads of agencies start talking about recentering things, because you know that in that recentering, they are actually destroying other parts of our energy sector. So
Yeah, I'm waiting for the Brookfield affiliated pipeline company to get the first transnational pipeline built in this country to the benefit of Brookfield shareholders.
Right. Or the first nuclear setup. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and if I can add, as well, I think the feed dragging here by the Liberal Party, both with Trudeau and with Prime Minister now Carney, these are things that should have happened years ago. And it's easy to say that, but it's hard for people to realize how much of a benefit that would have brought us, because we haven't seen it. We don't know what it looks like because we never saw it. And now they're, pulling this out of their hat because they've decided to worsen relationships with the most powerful country on the planet, who just happens to share a massive land border with us. And the only real country we have is a proper neighbor. And they're doing the same thing here, where they're dragging their feet on trade deals, and trade deals are happening with other countries with the United States, and they're filling the space for our product and for our workers who are putting that product on the market to actually have money in their pockets. That's what the big delay is here. And they think they can, save face with the signing of this agreement, when the infrastructure, it's going to take a while to get there. I just think it's far-fetched for them to blame the predecessor when they themselves are the predecessor.
Well,
agreed. Yeah, go
and
ahead, Sheila.
If you're wondering, like you mentioned, what has this cost Canadians? Well, I can tell you just one deal, what it would have cost Canadians, because the Americans just signed the deal with Europe. So LNG, on July 27th, so just a couple of weeks ago.
1 month ago exactly. 1 month ago exactly, yeah.
The Europeans will struck a deal with the Americans, and this is on the liquefied natural gas that they said there was no business case for. $750 billion worth of US LNG and oil and nuclear fuels. That's 3 years. That's just 3 years. That could have been our market, because we have the uranium, we have the oil, and we have the LNG. We have more of all of that than the Americans. That was our deal that they said Mark Carney said there was no business case for. He was the business advisor to the Prime Minister. So that's a dumb phrase. Trudeau would have never come up with that on his own. So that is the case that came from Mark Carney, who prior to being the Prime Minister made it his life's work to debank and de-insure large energy projects.
And I want to throw steel in that mix there too, but also kind of in the same vein, but a bit different, is the fact that wasn't there just a massive canola deal signed between Australia and China, one of our major buyers, and that's not in the same vein as dealing with the States, but it's also a byproduct of how Carney's handled the situation.
Again, they're buying Australian canola because they're tariffing ours to fight back against the 100% tariffs that Trudeau slapped on their electric vehicles. So it's a retaliatory tariff. So they are just headed to Australia now to get.
They found a new market.
And let me just add to that, is the electric vehicle market that we were trying to protect here, that's now kind of half gone under because we invested billions of dollars and then they decided to pull out.
Yes, we're in a crisis situation, and now Mark Carney is stuck trying to put a Band-Aid, right? Put a Band-Aid over a fire hydrant of chaos on an economic front. Like he crapped the bed so hard, and now he's trying to make up for lost. Now it's time we sleep in it. Oh, good. I can't wait. Yeah. But it's really it's interesting that China just inked a deal with Australia on canola. And Premier Scott Moe is on his way to
He's
China
on his way there.
right now to lobby this. I just want to say it. We encourage Scott Moe to do that.
We did.
To just to sort of overrule the federal government because we don't have any trust that they can fix the problem. So Scott Moe is going to China, but man, it really puts us in a weakened negotiating position when they just signed that deal with Australia. It's really, really sad for Western ag producers.
Yeah, well, you look at Anita Anand, like, you're going to trust her with this? No.
Right.
Like, no. Let's keep going because we only have Sid for a few more minutes. Poilievre, he says, what I think you're going to see from Mr. Carney is big promises without action. So let's watch this. Calls it liberal show business. And don't confuse these meetings and busy work with actual deals.
Well, I'm glad that Mr. Carney has noticed my proposal from 3 years ago to develop the Port of Churchill, which I proposed back in the spring of 2022. But what I find incredible is that he has been in power for 170 days, and not only is there not a single shovel in the ground on any of these projects, there's not even firm proposals for these projects. Let me put this into context. He was in Germany. The Germans built, from concept to completion, an entire LNG import terminal in 194 days. That's about how long Mark Carney has been Prime Minister. And he still doesn't even know what projects he wants to build, or how he's going to build them, or which companies are going to do the building. So what I think you're going to see from Mr. Carney is more big promises without any action. It's more liberal show business rather than getting it done. And I would say, don't confuse activity with achievement. Mr. Carney has been frantically jetting around the world doing photo ops and signing phony declarations that are unenforceable and have no money attached to them. But in 170 days, he doesn't have a single project underway, while $60 billion of investment, Canadian money, has fled our country, mostly to the United States, impoverishing our people and enriching foreign workers. So what I'm saying to Mr. Carney is I'm extending the hand of friendship to all parties. Adopt the Canadian Sovereignty Act, which will rapidly legalize pipelines, mines, LNG plants, ports, open our economy up to the world. It will get rid of the capital gains tax on any reinvestment that is done in Canada to make our economy roar. Our workers will have paychecks that grow. Our economy will be self-reliant. And I say to Mr. Carney, steal my ideas. Take the credit for it. I'll help you write the bill. You can be the one to introduce and pass it. Let's just get it done. It's time to stop stopping and start starting.
I just want to give you guys a useless bit of information here. And again, I gave my useless information beforehand about Mamie Eisenhower, but the Alaska Highway, do you know how long it took to build? So they started construction on it right after Pearl Harbor, right? Because they were on that front. Do you know how, just give me a guess. How long did it take to build a highway from the United States through the horrible parts of Canada, places that were really uncharted, all the way to Alaska when they made that connection from the start in March? How long do you think it took?
4 years.
I feel like I should go low, so I'm going to say 46 days.
Days?
Super low. Strategic path.
8 months.
Holy hell.
From March to October, and they did the ribbon cutting ceremony.
Technically, I was closer.
Yeah, you were. If this were The Price is Right, you would be headed up on stage. But in 8 months, if there's
Incredible.
a political will, and if you consider what is before you a national emergency, you will get it done. But they actually consider the lack of pipeline access to be either one of those things.
But they don't consider projects that would benefit the West a national emergency or a national like an area of national interest, because why would they? Why would they? they don't want us to do well. They want us to suffer, and they want all of our main economic drivers to stop working for us.
Right.
This is
which feels suicidal because they also want our money. So it's like, if you want our money, just let us work, but they can't even treat us like a colony. In a colony, they would let us work. They would be like, yeah, get to work and give us all your resources, give us all your money, but they just want our money, but they won't let us do the thing we need to do to earn it. It's the craziest, suicidalist thing.
It is.
Well, and, you know, put aside Trudeau and just focus on when Carney got into office. It really feels like it's been, the summer of waiting in many senses. We're hoping to see the change, and how long is that going to go for? I think a lot of people, winter's coming, I think people are going to get to the end of their rope here. They want to see that change. They want to see that action on the ground, not this, former governor of the Bank of England, Bank of Canada, this world guy, just touting off and signing agreements, smiling with the right people. That's not the action that Canadians want to see. And they are waiting patiently. They've been waiting, but that patience is running out.
Yeah, he's doing is visiting his old European friends on our dime. Like, that's all he's doing. Like, please do something here if you wouldn't mind.
He's on a European vacation, and he has been since his very first days as Prime Minister. But further to what Pierre Poilievre said about the Canadian Sovereignty Act, I would like to see a provision in that act for increased scrutiny for any project that has any tie to Brookfield.
Right.
Okay. Because we can't just go,
build,
enthusiastically, green lighting projects without proper scrutiny. Because when it comes right down to it, do I want liberal insiders to benefit at all? All.
They've had a decade of that.
Oh my God, for another 10 years, can you imagine?
Yeah,
because those projects, when they get fast-tracked, there's just a lot of, they are such complicated projects, and there's so many moving parts that they're extraordinarily susceptible to abuse and malfeasance. Yeah. And so I would just like to make sure that Brookfield has no part of any nation-building project that gets greenlit under this government.
We saw this with the Green Slush Fund. We know what they'll do.
Right. And we listen, that just has to be a part of it. Okay. That needs to be part of the Canadian Sovereignty Act. Just heads up.
Let's finish this one clip, and then we'll talk about the other things on the other. Actually, you know what? We'll keep Sid for a little bit. I know you have to edit a video. I know, but you can stay on. Poilievre calls on Carney, the father of the carbon tax, to scrap the Liberals' clean fuel regulations, which of course is the carbon tax 2.0, and it adds nearly 20 cents a liter to gas prices.
Now, I did take some satisfaction in winning the debate on the carbon tax. Of course, I led the great Conservative team in an Axe the Tax campaign that everyone dismissed, but then had to reverse themselves. And Mark Carney, the father of the carbon tax, who of course was the one who advised Trudeau to bring it in, was forced on the eve of the election to reverse himself and promise to do as I said and axe the carbon tax. But I warned Canadians then he would bring it back when he no longer needed your vote, but still needed your money. And sure enough, here we are today. Mark Carney is bringing back the carbon tax 2.0. He calls it the Clean Fuel Standard, Clean Fuel Regulations. According to the Parliamentary Budget Officer, it will add 17 cents a liter to your gas. What did the last carbon tax add to your gas? 17 cents a liter.
Oh.
The new tax is starting to look a lot like the old tax. And Mark Carney thinks no one will notice. Well, Conservatives have noticed, and that is why we are announcing today that we are making it a priority to boost take-home pay and reverse the Liberal cost of living crisis by opposing Mark Carney's carbon tax 2.0. We want to axe all carbon taxes for good, for real, for everyone, forever. We want to increase your purchasing power because we know it's not just gas and diesel. Everything that comes in a truck will be more expensive when you tax fuel. And if you got it, a truck brought it. So we need to get rid of the carbon taxes altogether, make our lives affordable again. Restore the deal that Canada had with its young people and with its seniors, that if you've worked hard, you get a great life. You can buy a nice house. You get good food. You get to live in a safe neighborhood. That's what we're fighting for. And this fall, Our priorities are very clear.
Sneaky liberals.
Well, good for Pierre Poilievre for calling their bluff and pointing out to regular everyday Canadians that there's been a branding strategy put on the carbon tax, and now it's just the same thing under a different name, and they created a campaign to try and justify it. But one of the things that I think we have to talk about in terms of carbon taxes or in other punishing policies that target non-renewable energy is this idea that carbon is somehow bad. Okay,
right?
Because it's
not a pollutant. No.
If we could all just agree that carbon is natural, it's actually really good for the earth, and we need to stop vilifying it, that'll get us a lot further, because then it'll stop every argument that has to do with net zero goals, with sustainability, with green initiatives, on and on and on. And Saskatchewan Association of Rural Municipalities last year voted to declare carbon a non-pollutant. So They were like, we are done pretending like carbon is the enemy and that we have to fight the carbon. Like, it's actually ridiculous when you
I'm anti-littering. I'm anti-littering. I'm against real pollution. But this idea that my respiration is going to kill somebody, no. I refuse to believe it. I'm not doing this.
That the gases that bovines put into the world is somehow unsettling Mother Nature. Like, if we could just cut the crap on carbon being a pollutant, we would be much further ahead. I hope the conservatives propose legislation that tackles that.
Yeah, I just wish they stopped using the language of the left here.
Me too. Yep.
Well, and I think it is actually very unfortunate that the way, this carbon, I don't think, carbon is an enemy by any means, but I think the way that they framed this environmentalist conversation that, we've had to deal with over the last, few years to decades, depending on how you look at it, it's very unfortunate because it doesn't look at a proper relationship that we should have with the environment. Like you mentioned before, cleaning up after yourself, right? Like, are you just throwing your garbage out of the window of your car? Is that, your daily life? Okay, you're not being a good environmental steward, right? That's a problem. We don't need a pile of garbage every, which way you look on the streets. These things are unfortunate. And what do they decide to do? They take the sympathies we would otherwise have for that, and we see that as environmental, considerations, and they fill that with their environmental considerations of carbon bad. And it's I find it to be such a weak argument, and you get into the science of it all. Well, these people can't have that conversation. They're defending their stance, and that's the bottom line. If you want to actually talk about the science, there's Friends of Science that we've talked to quite a few times. They're a great resource on stuff like this.
Right.
Because
they don't just look at the last 50 years. They look at all, they talk to people who are geologists who consider the biodiversity of the earth during the prehistoric times when carbon was much higher and everything was much bigger and much greener, right? You had bigger animals eating bigger plants because everything was much bigger. And there's some argument to say that the higher carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere may follow the warming, not cause the warming. And we're 10,000 years out of an ice age? Of course we're warming.
And given that we live in a place, all of these ideas are so lofty, right? For people that sort of live in California or nearer the equator. But you apply all of these crazy, insane green theories to Western Canada, where we have 8 months of winter, of winter. I'm hoping that global warming speeds up at an exponential rate.
Right. Don't threaten me with a good time. Longer growing seasons, better, different crops instead of just canola and hay. The odd flax, maybe corn, but it's going for animal use, not, it's not Tabor corn. Don't literally don't threaten me with a good time. Less winter, more productive crops. Okay. Where do I sign up?
The faster we can get to sort of a tropical weather situation on the prairies, perfect for us. Thanks so much. Why are we trying to maintain the freezing depths of winter? Why?
Right.
Why?
It's because people making these decisions live in overcrowded areas where they just see
where they never see it.
They just see a ton of people and a ton of cars and a bunch of concrete. and their Birkenstocks never get off the concrete. And so they just think it's always like that. And it's like, no, that's in the little sliver of the earth wherein you live.
Right.
It's not like that everywhere else. Okay, go ahead.
Just a last note on that is I wonder how many of these people have actually been able to look up at the night sky and see all of the stars that there are to see. Because when you live in the city, you don't actually see the night sky. It's covered in the haze of the downtown.
It's
and
true.
many of these people don't leave that zone. So,
Right.
you know, there's food for thought.
Yep. I live next door to a starlight preserve. So I have blazing stars in the sky every night.
When you get out of your car at Sheila Gunn Reid's house, you just look up and you are plunged. It is so beautiful. Yeah, I don't get that just living even in a tiny city. You lose the sky in a tiny city. Yeah.
Yep. That's maybe that's real pollution, light pollution. I don't know. Michelle Rempel-Garner, she's the immigration critic, and she has gone about posting data on youth. Every day she posts something. So today it's youth unemployment, 7.7% in Alberta. Unemployment in Alberta overall as a rate is 7.7%. Alberta's youth unemployment, 20%. But a Calgary Tim Hortons wants to fill a job with a temporary foreign worker for $36 an hour, and the Liberals are going to let them.
One out of five Albertan kids can't find a job, and we are importing people to take them. Make it make sense. Make it make sense.
Yeah, well, not just their job, you know, their residence, the potential spot they might have at an educational institution.
Right.
Their doctor. Everything. You know, there's space in line for a hospital visit. Every single thing that you require in your life that you are dependent upon here in Canada is also something they're likely to be dependent upon. The only difference is that you earn your living, most likely, and they most likely, and more often than not, are receiving large tax benefits from the government. They're getting money from the government,
and the
government is
employers
taking
are
that
getting
money from you.
Yeah, and the employers are getting a top up too on the salaries.
Exactly. So they get a discount on these things, so they get to have more of that money in their pocket than you do.
Yeah, as one of our chatters said yesterday on the stream, once you end that salary top up, you'll really see. Once you take the incentive away to not hire Canadian kids, you'll see those labor market assessments that the employers fill out stop being filled out, because there will be no reason not to hire a Canadian kid to work at the Tim Hortons or the Mr. Lube.
But go ahead, Sid.
Well, it seems as well like our standard for who we've let into the country has also gone from those who actually need support because they're in a very bad situation back home in whatever the country it might be.
Or people who need no support, like doctors, engineers, those people like come in, hit the ground running. We're not taking those people either.
Yeah. But now it's kind of like, we'll accept anyone so long as we can assume that you're in a worse position than you would be in Canada. And that's not the hallmark for the people that should be let into the country. You know, it should be far lower than that. It should be people that, you know, are actually going through a tough time. Now it's just, you might have better odds if you come. Congratulations, you're welcome.
Yeah. Yeah. Our refugee asylum program is crazy. Now we could potentially take rainbow refugees from Texas.
There's an actual federal government program which is offering a free ride for LGBTQIA refugees. Okay, asylum seekers from the United States.
Right. It is not from Saudi Arabia. Like if you were an LGB refugee from Saudi Arabia, from Ramallah, get in here. You're going to die. Get in here. But if you are just somebody because
they're not using your pronouns anymore,
right? And you can't play ladies rugby in San Antonio anymore. No, you're not a refugee.
I'd say if you're escaped from North Korea, you're welcome as well. But given the amount of Chinese police stations we have, that might not be a good idea.
Right, they'll round you up and send you back right away. Okay, I think that's it. That we've got to hit an ad break. We've got to say bye to Sid. Sid's got a very busy day ahead of him. We snatched him onto the stream today, and we appreciate you so much, Sid. Now get back to work while we hit an ad break. We'll see you on the other side.
See you guys.
Gun bans make great distractions.
Trudeau may be gone, but Carney has picked up his same
We
rhetoric.
will quickly, and I mean quickly, reinvigorate the buyback of
Hunters, collectors, competitors, and defenders of tradition are still being targeted, while criminals run wild under Liberal policy. But we are fighting back. Join us, Canada's National Firearms Association, in defense of freedom.
Do you agree with me? It is time to make Canada great again. And that is why we at Rebel News have teamed up with MCGA hats to introduce, well, the fashion sensation of 2025. Oh, and by the way, these beautiful hats, they are made in Canada. We don't rely on cheap imports coming over from China. So what are you waiting for, folks? Show your pride. This is the perfect thing for a patriot to wear, or maybe there's a patriot in your life that you would like to gift such a hat. Please go to mcgahats.ca. That's mcgahats.ca. Don't be shy about it. Wear this cap. Let everybody know you want to make Canada great again.
All right. Excuse me. Before we get into the rest of the show, which is, I mean, we don't have a ton of time left, but we'll get into some fun stuff. We'll hit all the headline stuff, and then of course, I think we have 2 daily cringes, which is good, because we didn't really have a daily cringe on Monday. But first, I want to tell you about Brick House Nutrition. Their Labor Day sale just went live for a few days only. You can save 25% on everything with code LABORDAY 25. Did you know in Alberta we don't have Labor Day? It's Alberta Day. We took it from the unions and I couldn't be happier. Also, you should note that the code Labor Day is with the American spelling of labor, LABOR. Start off strong, reboot your health, and save big. This massive sale includes best-selling weight loss formula called Lean. It's doctor formulated and it helps turn excess fat into energy, reduce appetite, and curb cravings. Lean helps you reach your weight loss goals without needles or prescriptions. And the more we learn about those needles and prescriptions, the more I think we should be frightened of them. And then there's also the super fruit and vegetable drink called Field of Greens that promises your doctor will notice your improved health or your money back. Plus, there are things that I really care about, like Radiance. It's a super collagen booster. If you've spent any time with me, one of my favorite things to do is just scoop collagen and just eat it dry. I don't even mix it into anything. So I'm always looking for a more palatable collagen supplement because I have quite wiry hair and I like strong nails and I care about my skin, especially because I probably spend way too much time in the sun. There's also Brick House Whey Protein. It's all on sale, 25% off, but only for a few days. Kick off fall. I can't believe it's fall. Feeling stronger and more confident and perhaps even have more radiant skin than ever, head on over to brickhousenutrition.com. Use the code LABORDAY25. That's Labor American Day 25 for 25% off. That's brickhousenutrition.com, Labor Day 25, brickhousenutrition.com. Okay, let's get into some of the other things on the schedule here. Where do we want to go next? Let's go to the majority of Canadians saying CSIS is more dangerous than 5 years ago. And this is a CSIS poll. I don't know why they had to take a poll. You can just look at the crime statistics, you guys.
You could just look at any Canadian community ever in the last 5 years and just be like, oh, what? Yeah.
Whoops.
No, but they had to spend money on a poll to tell them what regular Canadians have been telling them.
Oh, I see why they did the poll, because the poll was about themselves.
Oh.
It says the poll also found that Canadians' trust in CSIS's ability to keep them safe from threats such as espionage, terrorism, violent extremism, and foreign interference is dropping. Yeah, well, you don't say.
You wonder why. So here Canadians are observing the absolute truth as it pertains to CSIS. And yet what does CSIS decide to commit to its resources to?
DEI.
Well, in 2022, CSIS unveiled their diversity, equity, and inclusion strategy. So starting in this report was released in 2022. Okay. But this was after years of consultations. And this is a quote, tremendous work in reviewing current policies, programs, and practices. The CSIS director said that he's committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion. It was a priority for CSIS to do this. Okay. So it's not a priority for CSIS to pay attention to espionage, to foreign interference, to crime in Canada. No. They needed to make sure that their employees felt real good and squishy in their safe rooms doing the work that they did. And like, it's just ridiculous. Like it's compounding levels of ridiculous. It starts out with an extensive land acknowledgement. I'm talking a land acknowledgement that goes from coast to coast to coast. Okay.
You know what? I'm always like, if a politician in Ottawa gives a land acknowledgement, I am for them giving Ottawa back. Give it right back. This is what we need.
It's a litmus test for if what they're about to say is garbage or not. If you start it with the land acknowledgement, I'm like, oh, the rest of it is going to be garbage now. You know what I mean? Like, it's a real good way to tell. But anyway, CSIS, congratulations on.
Oh my goodness, look at this land acknowledgement.
I'm so happy we're looking at it together. Good. I'm not the only one being aghast at this. But CSIS, this is what you get when you spend years and years and years putting importance on DEI and not crime and espionage and foreign interference and terrorism and the things that you're actually supposed to be concentrating on. This is what happens.
Oh my good God.
Look at it. I know. It's actually ridiculous. The Toronto region.
At this point, I'm just like, give me one line land acknowledgement.
Right.
We're committed to working side by side Canada's Indigenous people. That's it.
Well,
we're good.
Well, but that Indigenous people are Canadian. I think that even that's an extraordinary thing to have to include, because it's common sense that Indigenous people are Canadian. So do we really have to welcome each other in such a formal fashion? Is this a thing that we absolutely must do?
It's so divisive and nonsensical.
Well, because common sense people are realizing that it is a litmus test for craziness. You know what I mean? Like if somebody is participating in this or spearheading or insisting on it, it's like, oh, this person is obviously captured ideologically captured.
The dirt. This is insane. But yeah. And then you read this and you're like, by the way, China meddled in the last 2 elections. You might want to do something about that.
But we are focused on the safety of our employees, the safety and comfort of our employees. And
right. And you're like, by the way, Iran is probably funding all of these Hamas protests every single week that are plaguing the cities and driving up the incidents of anti-Semitic hate crimes. You might want to do something about that. And they're like, no, but have you seen our rainbow initiatives, Sheila?
That does not, we're not sure how that would dovetail with our DEI strategy. Like that's literally where we're at in Canada with Ottawa rot. And that's exactly what this is. This is rotten bureaucracy run amok. The sooner, like another good litmus test is, does a public institution fly pride flags? Do they? No, because those pride flags don't come cheap. Right. And they are there is a lot of time and effort being put towards pride initiatives in public institutions, whether it be on the federal level, the provincial level, or the municipal level. And if you want to know if your politicians are making good use of your taxpayer dollars and are honoring you, as a person that elected them, look no further than if they're flying pride flags. That's it. That's just a litmus test.
All right, let's get into, I guess this is another case of, I hope he finds the guy in charge, because Doug Ford goes on a crime rant, calling out LCBO thieves and praising citizens who slugged the thugs. And then he talks about the homeowner in Lindsay who is in trouble now for defending his home against a guy with a crossbow in his house in the middle of the night. I think it was in the middle of the night.
Crossbow.
Yeah.
That's badass.
And this is the guy that, that Andrew Coyne says we should engage in hand-to-hand combat with. A burglar breaks into your house with a crossbow and then you defend yourself. But again, Doug Ford, maybe you could talk to the guy in charge of the province. But also you have a friend in Mark Carney whose soft on crime policies are resulting in this plague of crimes wherein homeowners feel they cannot count on the police to protect them. Let's watch.
Okay, so here's my little crime rant of the day. I don't know if you've ever did you see these characters on the news last night that went into the LCBO up in Kitchener? They're brazen bunch of crooks. You know, I have all the confidence in the world in the Waterloo Police Services. The chief, he's a champion, the chief. We got to catch these guys and throw them in jail. They just do not care. They go in there, they start loading up. And you know what's ironic? It's the taxpayers' money, the LCBO. And so they're stealing off the taxpayers. But I have confidence they're going to be caught, and the judges have to keep these guys in bail. Or the other one, did you see the gangsters going into the mall there and smashing people's jewelry right in broad daylight and just hammering away at it? It's out of control. And I love the one, I think it was a year ago, when the guy in the LCBO, just a customer, he stood up and held him accountable. I'd love to meet that guy one day. He gave him a couple slugs in the head. They deserve a slug in the head every once in a while. But anyways, we got to get tough on this crime. People are fed up. And I'm wishing all the best for our friend in Lindsay. I don't know who it was, but people are at their peak with this violence. I mean, with the violence, but the criminality, and they're just at their wits' end that the judges keep letting people out on bail. So we're going to hold these guys accountable, and I will be all over the Prime Minister about bail reform. So thank you.
You will. Doug, you might want to point out to the LCBO, he's right to point out that when they are robbing the LCBO blind, that is Ontario taxpayer money. But it's worse than that, because then the cost of theft gets factored into the cost of the stuff that's still on the shelf. Like the loss is there. So the people who have already lost because they pay for the inventory carried by the LCBO also now have to pay additional price for the goods that they buy at the LCBO, which is a monopoly. But maybe, Doug, since the LCBO is a Crown agency, you could talk to them about their theft policy, because they're just supposed to stand there while people rob the store blind.
Safety, you see, safety. This is where
I'm not saying they punch these guys in the face, but you could call the cops. You could lock the door. You could do something other than just being like, okay, thank you, come again.
Sure. And I like how aggressive Doug Ford is in this, talking about blue collar crime. Okay, because these are all blue collar crimes. All of these instances that Doug Ford is talking about pertains to a certain sort of ground level crime. Not to say that it's not serious, but this is all blue collar crime. I would like to see Doug talk that big and bargy to Mark Carney about the white collar crime that's happening on the federal government level. Like, if only the politicians would start looking at their own bureaucrats like they were the same level of offended by the white collar guys as they are by the blue collar guys. You steal a couple of bottles of liquor from Doug Ford, he is outraged.
Right.
You steal $700 billion from the federal purse, and Doug Ford's got nothing to say. Isn't that telling? Isn't that telling?
We were sort of talking about it in our morning staff call today about this issue. And I remember when David Menzies went to he bought some whiskey from the LCBO. People still ask me about it. Did David Menzies get his whiskey? One of the canisters was empty when they sold it to him. So he went back and he's like, I
remember this.
And then when they wouldn't do anything about it, because it's obviously internal theft that has happened here.
Right.
David Menzies was irate, but polite. And then he went and filed a small claims case against the LCBO. And he went to serve it to them. And they called the cops on him. And I'm like, oh, well, wouldn't you know it? The phone at the LCBO does connect to the police. They just call it on people that they've ripped off, not when they're being ripped off.
Isn't that interesting? Isn't that it's they do know. They do know how it's
It does go there.
Work.
It does,
Right.
like the phone there does go to the police. They just
Right.
don't call it in certain circumstances.
Right. They save it for their customers. You know,
Right.
they save it for the customers. They let the bad
customers
guys, the
they've
thieves,
ripped off.
Right. They let the thieves get away, but not the customers that have a genuine customer service complaint. Like, just add that to the long list of things that makes Canada upside down world.
Do you know how many times I was out in public and people are like, "Hey, Sheila." I'm like, "Oh, hey, David Menzies gives whiskey." I was like, "I'm good. Thank you. Thank you. Everything's going well."
Well, everybody, David Menzies is universally beloved. So yeah, they're gonna
Yes.
they everybody wants the best for David Menzies. We do. We
Yeah.
want him to. He has earned his whiskey at the end of the night. But but just on this topic, I read somebody said on Twitter, and be darned if I can remember who it was or if I flagged. I did not. But they were saying that people from Alberta people from Ontario that can't get their hands on American liquor
Yeah.
are ordering boxes of liquor from Alberta to
We're
be
here for
shipped to
you.
Ontario. That's right. We're here, Ontario wine connoisseurs. You know,
Yeah.
all of your fine American spirit
Some
connoisseurs.
Kentucky bourbon. We got
We got you. You just come to one of our fine establishments in the prairies, and I'm sure they'll be able to hook you up. Put a nice little package together. I mean, imagine that is happy mail. You know, getting a box of wine from Alberta or Saskatchewan, that's happy mail for people of Ontario.
Right.
So you're welcome.
It's as close in Alberta to the free market as you can get in a country that still controls your access to booze. You're probably supporting an entrepreneur when you do that.
It's just wild.
When you do it in Ontario, it's the government stealing an entrepreneurial opportunity from somebody.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are.
Let's go to this next from you, and then we'll do a couple other things. Okay, this is you saying the call is coming from inside the house, you guys. Foreign Policy Canada says some foreign regimes twist and distort online content to divide and weaken societies. CBC. They go beyond spreading disinformation using subtle tactics designed to deceive. Again, CBC. See how Canada is taking action. You're not. You just give the CBC $1.5 billion.
Right. And then they put out their own propaganda. So in the video under this little clip, they hearken back to the house hippo. Do you remember that?
Oh, let's just show it. Let's just show it.
Okay. Let's get it up here. But viewers of a certain age, vintage, we'll call ourselves.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's watch.
Okay.
Spreading lies.
Aggravate your emotional response, flood your feed with fabricated content to drown out facts until you can't tell what's real anymore.
By sowing doubt, anger, and division, they aim to destabilize free and secure nations. By recognizing their tactics, we can resist their manipulation. Think before you share. The house hippo was, I forget what was the campaign. Was it TELUS?
Was it like
TELUS? It was TELUS Mobility, I think it was.
No, Sheila, was it? I thought it was a government thing. I thought the house hippo app. So it was like,
yes, and then it was adopted by
public...
TELUS, who did the like a one hippopotamus for Christmas.
Yes.
Oh.
But back in the day, there were ads that sort of cautioned younger Canadians, impressionable Canadians, to question what they were seeing on the television, right? Like, oh, is a house hippo for real? Everybody that was born at that time, okay, is nodding in agreement right now, remembering that commercial on the television. So they're hearkening back to the house hippo saying, question everything you see online. But they've added this element of like, there are foreign bad actors trying to influence you and try to steal your brain and try to be, thought vampires. And it's like, they give us so little credit, Sheila Gunn Reid. They give us they think the government of Canada thinks that we are so stupid that we would fall for this. And in a time where digital communication makes it very, very easy for people to find information.
And fact check.
Sure. Back check it, right? Like go back in time and look, because the internet is forever. But here these lunatics are warning Canadians saying, you're too stupid. You're too stupid to tell for yourselves. So here's a public service announcement. Guys, the government of Canada is by and large the biggest distributor of misinformation and disinformation in the country of Canada, bar none. Okay, nobody does it better, misinformation and disinformation, than the government of Canada. So I thought that it was real. I thought that it was real adorable. That what was the where did the tweet come from again? I know that it was mine, but
Foreign policy
Canada. Real cute that they would do that to us. Yeah,
also,
adorable.
There's this. I'm gonna drop this in the link in the. I mean, again, I'm not taking advice from the Canadian government about what is or isn't disinformation, since they're the biggest peddlers of it. And Melanie Joly was one of the most atrocious ones of spreading anti-Semitic nonsense. And she was called out about it in the House of Commons. And yet, to this day, her tweet on the subject still remains. This is Michael Chong calling her out on this. So yeah, these people telling me to be careful what I read online. Yeah, one of the best ways to do that is to not follow the CBC or any government minister.
To trust them. They're asking. Yeah. They are telling Canadians to trust them. In Canada, tell us, do you trust the government?
Watch this.
Yeah.
The Honorable Deputy de Wellington Halton Hills.
Mr. Speaker, Canada's closest intelligence allies have already clarified the record. This government has not. So I'm going to give the government an opportunity to correct and clarify the record. Will the government clearly state that the Israel Defense Forces and the State of Israel were not responsible for the explosion at the hospital in Gaza on Tuesday?
And they won't. Take down your tweet.
Then I have been this.
Mr. Speaker, what happened in Gaza is absolutely devastating. Palestinian civilians, Israeli civilians are equal and must be protected. You've heard the Prime Minister earlier today. Canada and its allies are working to determine exactly what happened, and Canadians deserve answers.
Hezbollah did that.
Right. Yeah. It was pretty.
She damn well knows it.
Yeah. And yet she would stand up in Parliament and lie right to our faces. And yet it is their government that says, believe us, we're telling you the truth. Trust us, we're telling you the truth. Lies.
We got Melanie Joly again. This sorry, I don't want to say tweet because that's old Twitter and X is free. But it comes to us by way of Mark Nixon, and this is Melanie Joly on Euronews, the Europe conversation. Let's watch this. She says, we'll crush the U.S. with $60 billion in tariffs. Okay.
Based on that, we've led the charge because we didn't launch this trade war, and we know that there are no winners in a trade war, but we came up with $60 billion worth of counter tariffs on American goods in Canada. And also the Prime Minister Carney, just announced that we will also retaliate 25% tariffs against auto and auto parts that are not covered by the trade deal we have with the U.S. So basically American cars and American parts coming to Canada but are not compliant.
What is the reaction from the White House to that? Because Donald Trump said on so-called Liberation Day that any country that tries to retaliate, that he will increase further the tariffs.
We're defending ourselves. We never started this trade war. And it is clear to us, knowing so well the American people, that the American people don't agree with the actions coming out of the White House. And, Shauna, the only way for President Trump to back off on his trade war is for American people themselves to say it's enough. And they are the ones that can create the political pressure within their own system to make sure that that's the case. And that's exactly why we launched an advertising campaign in 12 Republican states, red states, which clearly states what tariffs are, which it is, you know, tariffs are clearly a tax on hardworking Americans. Tariffs are also a tax at the gas pump. Tariffs are also a tax on their grocery bill. So we've made it clear to the American public, and we're seeing that there is a lot of frustration within American society towards what's happening now. Now, I think we have to retaliate. We need to defend ourselves. And so not only are we leading the charge, we're the country at this point that has imposed counter tariffs the most against U.S. goods. We're working with the EU. I had just a conversation with the EU Trade Commissioner, Sefcovic. We're working also with Asian partners, and we'll continue to put maximum pressure.
How'd that go? How'd that turn out for you, Melanie? How'd that go? How'd that whole entire strategy campaign, 14 state press, telling the, you know, Americans, it seems to me that Americans love nothing more than a haughty, highfalutin Canadian to come and tell them
Canadian at that. Yeah.
how unhappy they are. Oh, the Americans are so upset about what the government is doing. They just elected the government, like the United States elected that government to do exactly what they're doing. And so, like,
they're fine. The Americans are fine.
Yeah, they're doing
Trump
okay.
said he would do this. They want this.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, how embarrassing. She's our version of Kamala Harris.
Poutine Barbie, I saw somebody call her, and I think it's delightful.
I love this. Actually, I love, we're making that stick. Poutine Barbie every time we see Melanie Joly. Yeah.
Okay, before we get to the Daily Cringe, I think we should talk about something terrible that broke before we came on air, and that is the shooting at Annunciation Catholic Church in Minnesota. 2 kids killed, 17 more injured as we see it right now. Dave, our encyclopedia of the internet, gives us a quick rundown. He says, apparently, and this is, you know, things are happening fast. I could be giving you information it's developing. So
a developing story.
What we know so far: male to female trans kid born in 2002. As these things tend to be. Mom seems to have worked at the Catholic Church. Lone gunman. Then guns had all sorts of writing, including anti-Trump and anti-Israel stuff on it, as well as what seemed to be Russian or Ukrainian. So it was Cyrillic writing. Anyways, there was a video showing off the weapons and featuring a suicide note that was posted to YouTube that said, "Sorry, my friends, my family, for how this will affect you." But the YouTube channel is now deleted. So we're just waiting on things to come out. But this is what we know so far. And it is another trans mass shooter. So far, that's what we know. Israel must fall.
When are we going to acknowledge that walking children into this is the most destabilizing, most destructive thing that we can do to growing children? When are we going to acknowledge this? I hadn't heard about this story, Sheila Gunn Reid, before this, and so obviously, I'm thinking about the parents of the kids involved and what a terrible day this is. But maybe this situation will be the catalyst to have some really, really important conversations about what's been done to our children. The societal and the cultural contagion that was unleashed upon our children starting in 2015 has had dire and devastating consequences. And I would argue that if all of the details in this story, as we've just heard them, are true, it will spark a real conversation about what's happened to our kids.
Right. It wasn't too long ago that Audrey Hale shot up the Covenant Christian School, and that was a trans issue.
there are so many instances of violence by trans-identified kids. Okay, these are kids that have adopted
deeply
a new gender,
troubled.
a new
And
persona.
instead of treating the problem, recognizing that these kids are deeply troubled, we just do whatever they want.
Yeah, these are kids that were deeply harmed in COVID. They were isolated. They were sent to the internet to receive all of their advice, and this is the outcome of that, guys. There's such a profound cost to destroying young people, and yet that's exactly what our governments have been doing. So anyway, we'll keep an eye on it, and just thinking about those families.
We've just, moreover to your point, another post. This is breaking confirmed. Robin Westman, previously Robert Westman, the Minneapolis Catholic school shooter at Annunciation, was a man who identified as a woman. He began identifying as trans as a minor, and his parents signed off at it per court records. His name was Robert Westman until 2020, when he changed his name to Robin Westman. And so we have reports that he was born in 2002, so he would have been just
23.
But if he changed his name in 2020, this likely would have been before his 18th birthday to have his parents sign off on it.
Sure. Yeah. 2002 would have been 16. He would have been 16. And so 18. This is, or 18, excuse me, 18. This is gonna conjure up a lot of questions about what kind of treatments, potential cross-sex hormones or wrong sex.
Yeah,
sure. We are under a crazy illusion to think that we can give children wrong sex hormones from the opposite sex person and think that it doesn't have a profound effect on their development and their ability to discern. You give little boys the hysteria hormone, right? You give little girls the aggression hormone, and this is the result.
This is it's just terrible. I just how many more, right? By the end of the day, no, I'm sure by now someone is blaming access to weapons, as if somebody like me could be capable of doing something like this.
Somebody is going to blame Trump for ending gender affirming care in children, and adults, and making him have to go back to his biological sex. It's just what's going to happen. But also what's going to happen, Sheila, Gunn, Reid, is we are going to see a vast cover-up of anything having to do with this.
As with Nashville,
yes.
The manifesto, we've never seen it.
Yes.
We've never seen it.
Yeah.
All right. I could use the Daily Cringe as a palate cleanser. Let's start with one closer to home, and then we'll go to Libs of TikTok. So Richie Valdez, who is it? I don't know how to say her name, but I say it like Retchie, like she makes etchy.
Yeah.
She's the Minister of Women and Gender Equality and Secretary of State for Small Business. And she says, today in Vancouver, I reaffirmed our federal government's unwavering support for 2S LGBTQI plus Canadians. Together, we are making meaningful progress. On what? Like, what are you supporting? Over 6,000 queer entrepreneurs through our first of its kind 2S LGBTQI plus entrepreneurship program. Tell me that they're not giving out loans based on who you bang, but this is what we're doing now?
Yeah. And they actually cut funding to Women and Gender Canada by like 85% this year, or something insane.
Cut it all.
They cut the services for actual women, and then found $100 million for LGBTQIA entrepreneurs. And like so many of these stories that we've seen recently, they develop these programs, they give the grants out, and then nothing actually happens. There are no deliverables on the other end. What they're doing is funding to the tune of $100 million taxpayer dollars, LGBTQIA people, to further silo themselves in a validation circle and uphold this completely contrived, federally funded, identifiable group. That is what they did. That is what they're doing.
I just don't understand. Go to the bank, submit your business idea, your business plan, and maybe the bank will consider you a good risk or maybe not. But why is the taxpayer backstopping a loan, a grant? I don't know what this is.
These will be these. I'm gonna guess right now that these are non-repayable grants. They're not going to expect the LGBTQIA community to repay a loan. Sheila Gunn Reid, are you kidding? Are you kidding?
There are people out there trying to do useful things like start a welding business or whatever, and maybe they could stand to have a loan backstopped by the government because they're young, they're just out of welding school, whatever. I'm not against that as long as it's a loan repayable. But this. We're approving your boutique gluten-free dog cookie, vegan cat food business based on who you sleep with? What on earth?
We are now like I don't think that they're going to be very productive at all, just because this
is how the Canadian taxpayer funds the vegan cat food business.
Well, that's exactly right. Like it's gonna be full of a bunch of crazy, insane leftist ideas that never get off the ground because nobody would support them and they would die in a capitalist market. But it's grossly offensive for the federal government of Canada when Canadian women genuinely need services that are just meant for women. Okay, we need shelter spaces. We need Canadian women don't deserve entrepreneurial scholarship. Young Canadian girls don't deserve that. Well, according to the government of Canada, absolutely not, because guess who just took all that money? The trans queers in Vancouver.
But I don't understand. Like, if you have a business idea, I don't care what gender you are. I don't care what gender's not real. Sorry. I don't care what sex you are. And I don't care who is in your bed at night. Is your business viable? Is it a good risk? Take that idea to the bank. Best of luck to you.
And now if you just identify, you can qualify. Identification is qualification for the government of Canada. Like, make it make sense. If their ideas had any merit, they would float on their own. There would be no need for this level of assistance. And yet,
I hope somebody games the system. I really do. Let's go to Libs of TikTok. I saw this and I was like, a lot of men out there are probably like, I accept these terms. Let's watch this. It's a Democrat boomer, as these women tend to be, refusing to date white men. Let's watch.
Friendly reminder, as a white American woman, I will no longer be dating white men. I'm looking for anything other than a white man, okay? Just a heads up. Friendly reminder.
Why did she do this? Just a heads up.
Well, save some for the rest of us, lady. I'm sure that you like I'm sure that you have an extensive lineup of good-looking, hard-working white dudes just banging down your door.
Yeah.
But, thankfully, Sheila, seeing as she's removed herself from the dating pool, women like you and I, and just like you and I, across the nation,
just like us,
across the continent, have a better chance at the good white men. Like, I guess we should send this woman a thank you card, hey?
Yeah, on behalf of my son.
Oh, speaking of sons, happy birthday to my beautiful 30-year-old son in Abbotsford, British Columbia. He watches this program. He's a big show of Rebel News as a whole and of the Rebel live stream. And today is my 30th anniversary of being a mother. So just because we brought that up, happy birthday, Austin.
Yeah, that lady, I mean, it feels as though she's trying to make an excuse for the fact that nobody wants her. Like, she's like, no, it's not that I can't get a date. I'm just super selective. I don't want to date white men, and I just happen to live in an upper class white neighborhood. See, do you see the problem?
And here, like, I just think about my list, right? And I'm like, nobody that's missing teeth,
Right.
The criteria starts. It's like if you're missing teeth, then it's a non-starter. No, I'm married. P.S. I'm
Right,
just
right.
we are being facetious.
Right.
But thank goodness she's left some for the rest of the women. Thank goodness.
Yes. Can you fix the blades on the lawn tractor after I have run over that same rock for the 20th time, because I don't feel like going out with the shovel and digging it out of the ground? That's a good quality in a man.
I'm just saying, like, do you know how to do a blue job? Do you know what the blue jobs are? Will you just do the blue jobs? Like, that's
I do a
pretty
few
much
of the
it.
blue jobs too, but I have to.
Sometimes it's job sharing. You know what I mean? The pink job and the blue job will intersect at some point, but mainly, okay, I just want you there for the blue jobs. That's your job.
I fixed my own air conditioning on the road. I took apart my dash and fixed
You
it.
guys have never seen anything like this. And this is where we can shame the city of Regina for their awful road maintenance. Sheila Gunn Reid was driving down a road coming towards my house in Regina, and it is so bumpy. It like a roller coaster bumpy.
New neighborhood.
Brand new neighborhood. Brand new neighborhood. The air conditioner in Sheila Gunn Reid's vehicle disconnected under the hood. What did Sheila Gunn Reid do? She took apart the entire interior passenger compartment of the vehicle, Googled what she had to do, watched the YouTube videos, had it back together. Sheila, I think it was like 25 minutes from the start of the experiment to the end of the experiment, and you saved yourself probably $1,000.
I sure did.
Well done, my dear. Well done.
I sure did. But I'm left to my own devices a lot, without anybody to do the blue jobs, and so I have to do those blue jobs myself. So that's it. Let's get to some of these chats, and then I got to get on. I'm late for a meeting, which is not terrible. I'm not sad about not being in a meeting, obviously. Let's see. Is this where it starts? It starts with. Yeah, I think it starts. Does it start with Donald? Yeah, it does. Okay, so Donald Anderson gives us $50.
Shush.
Holy heck. And all he says is, never fear, Dawn is here.
Well,
I wasn't scared, but I'm glad you're here.
Dawn did the blue job today. Look at this. That is a blue job, Dawn. Thanks for being here.
Cicely Bardwell gives us $10, and Cicely is a regular viewer, regular chatter. She's the best. Happy, sad, angry, hopeful, all emotions applied. Pierre gives me hope. Carney gives me stomach cramps. Look, and look who's talking. Ford, do something. Exactly. Doug Ford. He's always outraged at the things that he can fix. Right. Have you noticed that?
Right.
It's like, man, this is outrageous. And it's like, I know, you should fix it. You're the guy in charge.
Yeah, when I get overwhelmed at the condition of my house, the solution, right, is just to do housework. Right. That's what Doug hasn't realized yet.
Yeah, it's me looking at the pile of laundry over there that I need to put away, and it's like, man, someone should put that away.
Oh, right. It's me. It's mine.
That's someone. But someone is me. Silver Feet gives us $5. At my workplace, largest employer in Canada. Oh, you work for the government? They use the automations I built from scratch to power their DEI initiatives. I felt so sick when I found out. Would be a shame if this somehow leaked. Well, I believe it just did.
Oh, buddy. Send us an email. Send us an email about that.
Yep. Sheila at rebelnews.com.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Sheila at rebelnews.com.
Next one. Rocky Mountain Duke, $5. Another great stream. Ladies, what scares me most about Carney and his policies is what he's doing behind the scenes that we are not seeing. Yeah. How rich he's making himself.
Me too.
Yeah. All right.
I share that concern.
I echo that sentiment. Okay. I think that's it. Another wonderful Western Wednesday Buffalo panel with Lise and Sid, and a wonderful 3 days. 3 days. With Lise.
Exhausted.
Yeah, I gotta keep going. But thanks to everybody who works behind the scenes at Rebel News Special. Thanks also to Lise, who 3 straight days for her. She has a regular job of being a mom to many, 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 many kids. So appreciate you for jumping in as much as you did this week.
Oh, honey, my pleasure. This is like therapy. I don't have to go to therapy because I have Rebel News. I hope that's true for all of our viewers.
Yeah.
No, but it was great. And we'll see you next Tuesday. We will see you next Tuesday. Okay.
For sure. Actually, and if you are a subscriber to the Gunn Show, if you're part of Rebel News Plus, just go to rebelnewsplus.com if you're not. Although if you just want to listen to the audio version, we'll get that to you also. We realize that sometimes the $8 a month is not in your budget, and I get it. But the audio version is always free. I did a Saskatchewan soapbox this week. We talked about Saskatchewan related issues because, there's the canola stuff and there's nuclear stuff and the budget stuff and the NDP saying that the province isn't carbon tax free. So I called in Lise and Michael Koros, who is also a Saskatchewan-based commenter that you may have seen here on Western Wednesdays, to break it all down. And we're calling it Saskatchewan Soapbox. I think I'll do it every few weeks over at the Gunn Show. So if you didn't get your fill of Lise, well, there's still time.
There's another whole dose. You can get another whole dose of me over there at the Gunn Show, and Michael Cruz too. Yes.
Thanks to everybody who shares the stream, engages with the stream, and to those of you who pitch in your hard-earned cash to keep the lights on here at Rebel News. We could not do any of this without you. So let's sign off. I'm late for a manager's meeting. If you find us offensive, maybe don't find us at all.
Canadians know the national anthem. They stand in silence to remember those who died for this country. But not every Canadian knows their rights and freedoms. The Freedom Passport will change that. It looks and feels like a Canadian passport, but contains the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms in a portable, easy-to-read format. The Freedom Passport. Order one for yourself and for all the freedom lovers that you love at freedompassport.ca.